Hello everybody, welcome to our new topic methods to study psychology. Here we are going to look some of the important methods to study psychology. The first method to study psychology is the observation method. We all know that the psychology is focused to study about the behavior, especially the overt behavior, that means the observable behavior. So obviously we can say that the observation method is one of the key method to study psychology. And in the observation method, simply we are observing other people's what they do, what they doing in some certain situations, and what they react to some certain situation, and like that. When we come to the observation method, we can say that there are two types of observation: participant observation and non-participant observation. In that, we are taking consideration of the participant observation. In that participant observation, we are also part of the subject we are studying. Suppose when we are trying to study about the classroom behavior of students, we are also taking admission into that class, and we are also part in that class as in the fake identity. We are not revealing we are a researcher or not like that. We are saying that we are a student. We are creating some fake ID and be part of the class, and we are observing the students. When we are taking consideration of the non-participant observation, we have the naturalistic observation and the laboratory experiment. The laboratory experiment, simply we are creating some situation in the laboratory settings, and we are studying that situation, how the people react, or how the people will behave in some certain situations. We are creating some situation in the laboratory, and we are deciding, the researcher is deciding in what time, in what location, and in which subject we should study. One of the example of the laboratory experiment is that Mary Ainsworth, the strange situation study, and you will have the extra link in the description to know about the Mary Ainsworth strange situation study. When come to the naturalistic observation, it is also a non-participant observation method. In that naturalistic observation, we are studying people's behavior in their natural settings. Suppose we are taking an example of the people's behavior in a cricket stadium. For that, we are going to a cricket stadium, and we are observing the audience. We are not observing the match, or we are not enjoying the game. We are just observing. It means that we are observing the people in their natural settings. We are not saying that I am observing you, or they are not aware about whether they are being observed or not. They are simply watching the cricket, and we are simply observing this people. Another method to study psychology is the interview method. The interview method, we all know about the interview. We are familiar with the term interview. We are watching interview of celebrities in the YouTube and other social media platforms. And we have three types of interview in the psychological research. One is structured interview, and another is unstructured interview, and obviously semi-structured interview. The structured interview means that we are preparing some question to the subject. We are already prepared about some set of questions, and taking consideration of the unstructured interviews. It is not a planned interview, or we can say that it's not a scripted one. We are going to ask some questions randomly to the subject, and when we sometimes create questions on the spot according to the answer of subject. Such method is called the unstructured interview. And when come to the semi-structured interview, we have some certain kinds of questions, but we are not strictly stick on to the questions. In the semi-structured method, we are just half prepared. We can say that simply we can say that we are half prepared. We are making some certain kinds of questions only. After that, we are asking some other questions to the subject, and such kind of interview is called the semi-structured interview. And another method to study psychology is the survey method. We all know about the survey method. We are also be a part of some kind of survey method from the Gram Panchayats or government bodies. The survey method is simply that the researcher can ask some question to us. It could be open-ended or closed-ended questions, and we can answer to that questions in the written form, or sometimes in the verbal form also. Survey method is common thing among us in the social studies or human resource studies. The survey method can be found much more. But when come to the psychological study, the survey method is there, but it is rarely used in the psychological researches. We have another method to study psychology is that the questionnaire method. In that questionnaire method, we have a set of questions. It should be in the closed-ended questions. We can give yes or no answer, or we can rate the question in a 5-point scale also. And this is the method to study a certain kind of aspect or certain aspect of behavior. And also we have another method to study psychology is the case study method. Case study method is simply in psychological researches. The case means that the detailed report of a psychological or psychiatric patient and they have some certain kind of disease or disorders, or sometimes it could be the brain damage or neurodevelopmental disorders, etc. From the report, we are studying that such pupils all have a common disorder or dysfunction, that suppose such people have less self-control or have no self-control after the brain injury. And when such things are present, we can say that the person may have affected the self-control due to the injury to the frontal lobe. So we can find out that the frontal lobe is associated with our self-control. Another method is the correlation method. Correlation method is simply that we are trying to find out the relationship between two variables, whether that variables is related to each other or not related. And finally, we have the experimental method. The experimental method is simply we are doing some experiment which could be useful in the future, or which could be have the application level in the field. We will discuss more about the experimental method in the classroom, and we can meet in the classroom. So